السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
والله دكتورة دعاء، دكتور سليمان، دكتور سليمان سلطان.
اهلا وسهلا، حياك الله بروف.
السلام عليكم. جاهزين ولا ننتظر؟
You can start sharing the screen and probably we'll wait for another 2 minutes inshallah.
تمام. هشام.
Okay, Prof. Like to share again, Prof. عفوا.
حصل شيرنج؟
ايوه ممتاز.
لسه ما حصل
بس
مشكلة.
هو ده للباوربوينت. if you can share the slideshow the other one. So stop sharing and we'll share once again in the slideshow.
هم السلايد.
السلام عليكم بروف.
ايوه
ممكن توقف الشيرنج وتعيد مرة تانية الشير، بس اختار في الباوربوينت اختار السلايد شو، فحيظهروا two files. One of them PowerPoint template والother بيكون PowerPoint slideshow. So choose a slideshow.
ده وين في السكرين؟
أعمل-
انتير سكرين؟
ايوه اعمل شير
في ويندو في
شير
انتير سكرين. ها
بعدين في الويندو
انتير سكرين صح؟ اها
when you go للويندو في
في الويندو ما في انتير سكرين صح؟
ايوه
فيها.
في الويندو
اها
تعمل شير، بعد ذاك حيكون عندك فوق كروم ويندو انتاير سكرين، فكليك على
أيوة.
ويندو.
اها
داخل الويندو حيظهر يو نيد تو دو اول حاجه الباوربوينت حقك يكون سلايد شو، يعني خليه على البرزنتيشن مود.
ايوه اها
and then choose PowerPoint slideshow.
طيب ما انا لو عملت سلايد شو ما بيظهر هنا، ما بيظهر هيغطي على الويندو بتاع
do you want me to take care of the slides for you?
ايوه
خلاص share it with me and I'll take care of it ان شاء الله.
طيب ارسل لك.
Yes please. طيب الشاشة واضحة مش كده للجميع؟
ايوه واضحة.
طيب Professor, whenever you need the other slides, you just can say next وأنا همشي للسلايد اللي بعديها إن شاء الله.
ايوه انت خلاص هنا.
أيوة ظاهرة عندك الشاشة السلايدز؟
لا لسه ما ظهر عندي حاجة.
لو تفتح الفيرتشوال بلاتفورم من عندك.
ايوه ايوه ايوه
واضحة عندك الشاشة؟
لا كده واضح. هاي
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ladies and gentlemen, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We are honored to have our host today, Professor Ali Zayad, Professor of Medicine, who will take us through an insightful journey talking about mastering problem-based learning in health profession education. Would like to extend our appreciation for the audience who are attending with us in the sixth pre-conference workshop in ShedCon 2023. Professor Ali, the microphone is yours.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I am honored to be here with you, respected participants, and I have to start with complimenting and commenting on the organization of this conference, which is, to me, so far is exceptional, and I hope to come out with the results intended. Today we are going to spend some time together with an important concept in medical education. Let us say it is recent, but not that new. And I think everybody is acquainted and aware with the problem, with the concept of problem-based learning. But here today, let us agree that we are going to learn from each other. We are going to share our experiences, our comments, and our questions, and especially the obstacles and how people rectified those obstacles and improved on their utilization of problem-based learning as important component of education. Next slide. Next. Today, together we are going to cover the problem-based learning. What is it? Why? And why we adopt problem-based learning, and how we're going to implement problem-based learning to get the best of the intention, our intended learning outcomes from problem-based learning. Let us see with each other the important points and discriminations and important questions and differentiation to make it clear what is problem-based learning and what is not problem-based learning, why it is done, and how it is done. And of course, during this journey, we're going to cover the how to do it properly, how to do it, and get the most benefit out of it, and the different, maybe different schools and different experiences. The expected outcomes, next, expected outcomes, and of course you decide on what you want to come out with from this session, but at least we'll be able to describe the problem-based learning and the problem-based curriculum, differentiate between the terminologies or the concepts of problem-based learning and problem solving, and recognize the different types of problems used as tools in problem-based learning. And we are going to also appreciate the value of problem-based learning, and next, describe and appreciate the challenges and the role of the tutor, which we call in problem-based learning we call him or her, we call it a facilitator. Next. So what's problem-based learning? It's different definitions, but it's the same. It's an inquiry-based learning method that uses complex real-world problems to help students learn. This is one of the definitions. Next. And someone described it as learning that results from working with problems. So the aim here is the learning which happens. As contrast, next slide. As contrast to and there are, of course, books on different, a lot of references and books on problem-based learning. Next. And this is the context of the problem-based learning in small groups. Next. Next. So the problem-based, we have to differentiate between problem-based learning and problem solving. So what's problem solving? If you prepare a problem to your students and ask them to solve the problem, this is problem solving. As contrast to use it as a tool for learning. So it's problem-based learning is not problem solving. Next. And some curricula in some schools, they use a problem-based learning curriculum. That is, all the curriculum is taught in the approach of teaching is through problem-based learning, but most schools use it as one of the approaches to learning. Some courses and some in some they use it for learning in some areas to achieve part of the objectives of the curriculum. And we have also to define the learning situation and learning approaches. So what do we call the problem-based learning? What is it? We agree that we are going to interact and discuss. It's not, we don't want to make it a form of a lecture. learning, of course, you know this very well, but to clarify the terminologies or the concepts, learning situations and learning approaches. Problem-based learning is what? Can we have some participation? Can you hear me? Is my voice clear enough?
بروف صوتك واضح.
واضح. So participation, please. What's the problem-based learning? Is a learning. It is a learning approach used in a learning situation. The learning situation here is what learning situation we are usually using, utilizing problem-based learning. What is the learning situation?
عندنا هنا دكتور معاوية بيقول لنا إنه هي small group student centered. وفي برضك دكتورة نسيبة learning through real life problems. ودكتورة عايشة برضك it's real life scenario to make students learn from it.
Yes, this is a problem-based learning, but in what learning situation is used? You mentioned a small group. It's used in small groups. But in what situation? It's a small group in so and it is what? It is a learning approach. So next slide, please. Sean. This is a learning situation in which the problem-based learning with the context of the problem-based learning. In student tutorials. And next slide. So the definitions, as you mentioned, it is a learner-centered educational method or approach. And learners are progressively given more and more responsibility for their own education and become increasingly independent of the teacher for their education. We are moving towards student-centered and self-learning. So PBL produces independent learners who can continue to learn on their own in life and their chosen careers. Here you are preparing your students by being self-learners to be lifelong learners. And here, most educationalists think that if you graduate students who are self-learners and lifelong learners, this is more important than equip them with knowledge and information, because this is what makes them proceed in life and acquire new knowledge and develop in themselves. So we are moving towards student-centered, self-learning, lifelong learning, independent learning. Next slide. And the responsibility of the teacher here or the tutor is, his role here is a facilitator in problem-based learning to provide the educational material and guidance for facilitating learning. So here the role of the teacher or the tutor changed from teaching to facilitating learning. What is facilitation? The terminology facilitation, because this is very important. We have to move as teachers from being didactic, providing information, to facilitating learning in students. And this is how and when learning happens. So facilitation. Any ideas? What is the terminology of facilitation? What's the role of a facilitator? What is facilitation?
Dr. Olujain is mentioned that's facilitation to help students to navigate their learning process.
It's good. Any other ideas?
Another idea from Dr. Aisha, guidance with standards.
It's guidance with standards. So great. So facilitation.
Again from Dr. Abir, facilitators support and guide students, helping them navigate the learning process, ask relevant questions, and explore potential solutions.
Well, that's all within the meaning, but definitely the definition. One of the definitions of facilitation is encouraging students to talk, to debate, and to engage. From definition, your role as a facilitator, is not telling, it is encouraging. To encourage students to talk and to debate, and so this is your role, and this is done by engaging the students and asking questions and motivate them to talk. And so encouraging the students to talk means, by definition, is that they are talking, you are listening. As we are going to see, one of the important challenges of problem-based learning is that it might, without knowing, without intending, we find ourselves giving small lectures, explaining concepts, or giving information and knowledge, and that is not the way it is done. It is an active participation of the learners. Next. So, as you mentioned, it's based on real-world problems, and in healthcare, it is the cases. It's cases evolving around patients, and sometimes the problems are real patients. So, real-world. Next. So, some might argue that what is being done, not the problem-based learning. Why are you telling us about problem-based learning as if it is something different or new? And what we are also using problems for learning traditionally. But the difference is that in traditional teaching, the problem is not used as a trigger for learning, not a tool for learning. It starts with telling the students about the knowledge, or giving them knowledge, and they memorize it and they use it to solve problems. And this is actually what is used in problem solving. In problem-based learning, the problem is used as a tool to stimulate the students' learning and to stimulate them in self-learning, as we are going to see when we discuss the details and the steps. Actually, it's proved to be one of the best means of learning and deep learning and learning that lasts, learning that can be utilized for the whole life and can be applied to different situations. Next. So why do we utilize, as we mentioned that, and we already mentioned some of the reasons why problem-based learning as an approach has been introduced, and it is now more popular among most schools. It satisfies the principles of adult learning, and it helps in achieving the curriculum outcomes. So, as you know, the principles of adult learning, adult learners, how adult learners different? How are they different from the children in education? Adults actually come with experience. They come with information and some experience. And adults, they learn when they know that the learning is relevant to their practice, and when they decide on their learning. So, and that is all satisfied in the process of problem-based learning. And of course, in higher education, we are dealing with adults and adult learning. And for the curriculum outcomes, as we are going to see, the problem-based learning helps achieve the objectives of the curriculum, and of course of the course and of the activity, and finally of the outcomes of the curriculum. It is achieved through the we're going to see of the sessions of the objectives of problem-based learning and their objectives of the curriculum. In problem-based learning, both are achieved. And what's the difference between the curriculum objectives and objectives of the sessions or of the activity of problem-based learning? Is there any difference? And while we are achieving the objectives of the course and eventually of the curriculum, while practicing problem-based learning sessions, while doing the sessions, and while going through the process of problem-based learning, there are other objectives which are achieved, as we are going to see. So what are these other objectives, please? Dr. Dua, Dr. Hisham, or anyone?
We have Dr. Shaima. BBL is part of the learning objective of the course.
Yes.
And Dr. Muawiyah, leadership skills. And Dr. Aisha, objective of curriculum, achieve program objectives, while a session achieve learning of course.
Yes, yes, you are right. But as Dr. Muawiyah, who said leadership, who mentioned the leadership skills.
Yes, Dr. Muawiyah.
Yes, of course, we are achieving by, I mean, for each, and we're going to see the problems which are used to achieve different aspects of the curriculum. But generally, the is conducted in tutorials. Other objectives communication skills, different. We're going to cover soon. So problem-based learning enables students to develop the ability to translate knowledge into practice at an early stage. This is why it's being now used early in education, and from the beginning, and not in the later years, from the first years of the graduate school. And because not only achieving the curriculum objectives, but the other objectives of teamwork, of communication skills, of responsibility, of professionalism and others. And the important factor of self-learning, when you start that early, it becomes a way of life, a way of learning, that they are not going to face problems later in the last years, when the problems go deep, and they need more work and more studies and more deep thinking or deep learning activities. So if you start it early, you make life easier. So it encourages individual participation in learning, that's self-learning, and the collaborative learning, of course, with peers, and the achievement of the team objectives or the group objectives, and that is the teamwork skills. Next. So, as we mentioned it for the curriculum, and if we are moving towards the SPICES model of the learning strategies, it is an integrated and context-specific knowledge base. Of course, there is integration in the case, and it is the context of the problem as using real world problems or real patients. Decision-making, critical thinking process and skills. This is and this is actually is designed into the problems, because some problems are designed for this purpose, for decision-making, critical thinking process, self-directed lifelong learning. Self-directed learning, which is a part, as we are going to see, part of or a major part in the process of problem-based learning activity. And the self-learning prepares our learners to be lifelong learners, and they develop this skill. If they develop this skill early, that's very helpful. Interpersonal collaboration, communication skills. This is during the activity in the tutorial, because they work together. The students work together to learn. It is not to solve the problem. It is the activities to learn. and don't fall in the trap of problem solving. It is the intention here, or the aim, is not solving the problem. It is using the problem as a tool for learning. While they are doing this as a group, they develop their interpersonal skills, collaboration skills, they learn from each other, and communication skills. They learn to listen, and they develop the skill of active listening and effective listening, and that is only achieved in group work, like in tutorials. Constructive self-empowerment and the PBL later, skills by giving constructive feedbacks and receiving and giving constructive feedback. Professional ethics and behavior, we mentioned by the behavior during these sessions of the PPL. Next. So as we mentioned, there are different types of problems. So you have to use different types of problems are used for different purposes. So, for example, the explanation problem, it is the case or the problem is around explaining the signs and symptoms. That the whole case is, and that is what is expected from the students or from the learners by giving them this type of problem. And the choice of the problem, whether it is explanation problem, discussion, strategy, or the problem solving or multi-level, it depends on the objectives and the level of the students. The objectives you're going to achieve, this is part of the objectives of the curriculum, and the level of the students. So in discussion problems, you don't want to solve the problem, but your aim here is to encourage the learners and encourage the learners to debate or to give their points of view, and to develop the skills of discussion and defending their own points of view. This is like in professionalism or ethics, a problem of ethics, and there are examples of all of these. A strategy problem is used for clinical reasoning and acting. When you decide, so the question is, what is the appropriate course of action in this situation? What's next? What is next? A problem of a patient presented with so and so and so. Then the question here, if it is not written as a question, but in the discussion of the problem, it's obvious that they want the learners to think about what is next, and they have to answer this question, or otherwise go and inform themselves about what to do next in this case, in this situation. Next. Other types of problems are the study problem, if we want to master the content, the application problem, as we said, the applying previously required knowledge, and if it is the application problem, if it is used only as application, it becomes a problem solving, not problem learning. A multi-level problem, this is used for the learners in their advanced years, and it is from the name, what the name implies, that it is in-depth study of the pathophysiological problems, and it touches different areas, maybe diagnosis, investigation, diagnosis, treatment, and so different types. So this is usually used in later years. Next. So I think we have to stop here for a few minutes before discussing the how to make the sessions useful, and how to prepare as a facilitator. Before going into that, let us take a few minutes discussing what we have already discussed, and what's your opinion, your experience in the definition, the types of problems, and the difference between problem-based learning and problem solving, the use of problem-based learning in the whole curriculum or in part of the curriculum to achieve some objectives, and and what's your experience in applying problem-based learning? Are people utilizing the problem-based learning effectively, efficiently, and frequently, or they are going with the traditional way, as we mentioned, by giving information? The learners get the information from the teacher, didactic teaching, and then supposedly they know, or they get the information and they know how to solve the problems, they are faced with the problems, and they come and discuss it. And of course, there will be some learning, but it is not the problem-based learning.
Okay, we have Dr. Shaima.
Yes.
I'm quoting. Usually, we start a problem-based learning in the second week of the course after they given some information about the content of the system. Each group given scenarios with some keywords to read, and they have to discuss it together and solve questions with their tutors. This is from Dr. Shaima.
Okay. The process itself and the steps, we're going to touch on them later. But the now we learning and problem solving, and they're using the curriculum. Because some schools, all the curriculum is problem-based, and some use it to achieve some objectives. And the difference between the traditional and the problem-based learning, and the types of problems, because there are different types of problems used for different objectives.
Okay, Prof. Ali, we have questions from Dr. Fadwa. Can one problem integrate different types of problems?
Yes. So this is for classification or clarification, but I think you are right. It's very difficult to make a problem which is solely for one type, which is solely one type. It's usually more than one type. Not possible. It's usually more than one type. Very difficult to make it clearly one type. But of course, you can make it one type, but there's difficulty, and it is better to make it more than one type. Say, for example, you want them to know the content and to solve a problem, and you want them to know the content and do critical thinking and decisions as in a strategy. So it's usually combined. This is what I think about. All right. But this classification, it's helpful for someone who chooses a problem, because you don't need to design your own problem. You can design your own problem, but it's available. There's abundance of cases. You can you tailor these cases to your needs, and they are tested and they are validated and everything. You tailor it to your needs. You change the somewhere the context, the maybe the male or female, the ethnic group, or the age, whatever. You make the change to fit your objectives and to fit your culture. But these are already abundance of problems. But if you know that, according to your objective, you choose types of problems you want to use as a tool in problem-based learning. So now, if you think about it, your concern, or our concern, will be how to make these sessions of problem-based learning effective, and of course also effective in achieving the objectives of the course and the objectives of the sessions of the tutorials. So we're going to cover the steps of problem-based learning. We're going to go into some details in that. We're going to cover the challenges you are going to face, and of course we want to hear from you the challenges, of whether those challenges made you learn from using solve problems and moving forward. So actually, the next part of this talk, please, we need more participation. We need to hear from you, and because we all are going to learn from your experiences. Any
الحقيقة بروف they are participating هنا في الشات، فأنا كل ما بلقى فرصة بقوم بوريكم كده وشنو. فدكتورة شيماء، I'm coding type of problems that we are given them most of the time are in the form of clinical cases scenarios, in addition to some questions to test their knowledge of the topic.
So clinical scenarios and questions. Does that make it problem-based learning? We are going to see. This is very, very helpful, very important, and very informative, because we're going to discuss this point after we move through the process itself and the stages.
Okay, Dr. Aisha, also, I'm quoting, it needs more staff. Dr. Abir, the choice between realistic cultural, international, or fictional problems in a problem-based learning depends on the educational objectives, the diversity of the student population, the availability of authentic scenarios, and the desire emphasized on real-world apply.
The first part, the first question of that, it needs more staff. We are going to discuss that. We're going to touch on that. It definitely, it is more staff than utilizing lectures as an approach. Yeah. Or any approach in tutorials, it needs, of course, more staff, because this is small group teaching. In contrast to large group teaching in lectures, lectures are actually good as they are cost effective. Yeah, you don't need a lot of teachers or tutors for lecturing. You lecture 200 or 300 students at the same time, so it is more cost effective. So the tutorials, whether you use problem-based learning as an approach or other approaches, you need more. You need not only more staff, but more rooms. You need more resources, but not as you imagine. We're going to touch on that. You don't need that much of staff for problem-based learning. And the cases, when I mentioned there is abundance of cases, and you're going to just to tailor them, of course, if it's written, this is a 60 years old Caucasian or white female or whatever, and situations are different, you can just make some adjustments, but you can use most of these cases with minimal adjustments and minimal change. While we're waiting for your comments, not more rooms for groups, of course. We can overcome the need for more staff, different kinds of learning modalities, different learning modalities, or different ways of conducting. We are going to mention or how to decrease the need for more staff in tutorials. Other challenges: moving from memorization to critical thinking is calling for students. When you move from memorization to deep learning, of course, critical thinking is a skill, and in our discussion, I can just mention now something. If you can just as a facilitator help the students to learn critical thinking by challenging any idea, just by challenging any idea. If someone says this is so and so, you ask, how do you? Why do you think so and so? Why not? Why this is right? Why this is wrong? And instead of saying this is right or this is wrong, you throw it back to the learner and ask the learner to defend the idea, or to criticize the idea, not to accept whatever one is hearing or one is reading, by being critical. But being critical has to be on the basis of thinking and learning. Yeah, you have to think. To be critical, you have to think, and you have to know something, and you have to do some effort. Experiment with encouraging students to actively participate in the creation of their own supervision, aesthetic scenarios. This is an approach aimed to empower students by placing them in the driver's seat of their learning journey and widening the spectrum of PPR. Problem with the sessions. Who leads the sessions? Any volunteers? Who leads the sessions? Okay, we'll come back to that. Tips for successful group facilitation. So we agree that you as a tutor, your role here as a facilitator, and we explain the terminology of what is facilitation. So ask your group to identify their ground rules in the first tutorial. This is very important. The rules and the roles. What are the ground rules? What do we mean by ground rules? And what do you use them for? What do you mean by ground rules? Guidelines. Guidelines for what? Ground rules for the, like what? And give us an example. Lujain al-Harbi. Give us an example of ground rules. Basic guidelines use PPL. No, by ground rules. What are the ground rules? The ground rules are usually for the smooth performance. They are intended for the smooth performance of the group work, of the teamwork. So the ground rules, like being punctual, coming in time, you have to participate, you have to listen to others, you have to give room for others to give their opinion. You don't comment on people, you comment on the ideas. These are the ground rules, and you have to, everybody has to prepare before coming to the session. The ground rules and the use of mobile phones during the sessions, if it is allowed or not, of course. These are the ground rules which the group, the students agree on before starting their sessions. And the roles, what do you mean by the roles? The roles, here comes. What roles do we know? Of course, we need a leader, as in any group work, or in any teamwork, group work. There are roles. Roles should be allotted or assigned before the work of the group starts. And the roles, the most important role is the role of the leader. The leader here is one of the participants, or one of the learners, the students. One of them will be assigned to be a leader for this session, and a scribe, the one to write, and or a timekeeper, or the same duties assigned to the same role assigned to the scribe. So at least a role of a leader and a scribe to write the what's happening and the important points, and the timekeeper. Discuss with your group the different roles they may play. You mentioned build trust and encourage bonding of group. And that is, I mean, an important skill for the, should be a skill of a facilitator, to build trust. And how do you build trust? From the first session, if you are hostile, if you are aggressive, if you are treating the or downgrading your learners, if you are showing them you are superior to them, if you are showing them that they shouldn't make mistakes, or they threaten them by any means. Attentive to them, being caring about them, will build trust and encourage them to be participating or engaging, and the bonding of the group, because I mean the ground rules help in encouraging the bonding between groups, or at least avoid behaviors that pose the opposite. If people respect each other's, respect the opinion of each other's, the bonding of the group improves. And you don't dominate group discussion. Of course, if you are a facilitator, if you are facilitating, you will never dominate, because you keep away from intervening a lot or talking, except when actually needed, and you refrain from giving lectures or giving your opinions most of the time. Be a role model, how you behave, and monitor your teaching skills. If you ask the learners to respect each other's and to listen to each other's, and you are not practicing it yourself, you are not a role model, or you are a bad role model, of course. Encourage understanding. I mean, you don't pass anything which is not well understood. And everything mentioned should be discussed and prove that the people understand it. Next slide. Yes. Someone mentioned critical thinking. So to foster critical thinking and enhance the group's ability to debate, as we mentioned, the facilitator, you encourage them to debate issues rather than argue. When the difference is clear between debating and arguing. And arguing is yes, no, it's not, yes, it is not. And debate is defending one's opinion by evidence, or by logic, or by evidence, and accepting the other opinion. Where evidence they rank or refine their hypothesis. Of course, you should always ask if they hypothesize, give a hypothesis, and what's the evidence? Is it what level of evidence? Analyze that and information provided, so that you go into deep learning, not just the knowledge and information. It's analysis of that and synthesis, synthesizing into informed conclusions. So you go into a higher level of Bloom's taxonomy, higher level of learning or deep learning, by going to analysis and synthesis level, rather than stopping at knowledge and remembering. Emphasize understanding over memorization, which is, as was mentioned. Next. Expand discussion and allow more members to contribute. Actually, this is very important, because one of the important roles of the facilitator or the leader, not only the facilitator, the leader of the group, should make sure that all participants participate, all members participate. I mean, no one should be just sleeping, not participating at all. And of course, on the other side, no one should be dominant. And no one gives a mini lecture. No member of the group, and the facilitators, they shouldn't give lectures, many lectures. Foster directed learning, we are going to come to that, because it is an important part of problem-based learning, important process, important step in the process. The important step is self-directed learning, help understanding difficult or complex concepts. And this part an explanation may be allowed to help understanding difficult or complex concepts can be explained. Otherwise, you can ask students to go and look it up and come and explain it, or you can balance between the two, between explaining the concepts or asking the learners to go and look it up, understand it, and come and explain it in the next session, and make a combination. If you can make a combination of the two, depending on the objectives and on the level of the students and on the time allowed. Make students realize the significance of basic sciences in their discussion. Of course, this is well understood. Of course, we are problem-based learning encourages integration. There is integration between basic and clinical sciences. Next. Help students make priorities between their hypotheses. This is weighing the evidence, as we mentioned. Next. And allow students to see the big picture, as well as some fine details. Not to go into the details without seeing the whole picture. Because if you go into the small details and you forget the whole picture, you may go astray and not not pick the idea behind or the purpose behind the problem and discussing the problem. Next. We are still talking about the tutor or the facilitator to promote group dynamics. And the group dynamics is, as you know, when the group convene for the first time, especially for the first time, there would be, I mean, the stages of storming, and everybody is comes from different background and different culture and different thinking ways of thinking, and they first start with the the storming phase, and then they become know each other and know the accept the way of thinking, the way of doing things, and help. What helps here is the ground rules, which are put at the start, and especially listening, accepting the ideas of others, respecting others, and taking responsibility. So the group dynamics, if they follow or they abide by the ground rules, and it helps the group to be productive. Solve problems. The group is a win-win approach. This is the function of the facilitator. If there are problems, provide feedback that builds the group up, and giving them feedback as they go, not only at the end. So continuous feedback when needed will help the group to grow and be productive, as well as help learning. So this is formative, of course. This is a formative assessment by giving feedback on the way, during the sessions, before the end. Tell them about your roles, your roles. The role as your role as a facilitator. Next. So, are there any comments or questions before going into the how part? That is the process itself, or the steps. Okay, anything in the chat? Okay. Roles. Okay, we go to how, or you have some comments or questions or contribution, or you want you need a break, or shall we go? What do you think? Shall we continue? دكتورة دعاء.
أنا بروف معاك. في دكتورة فدوى بتقول إذا ممكن break to pray، لكن حسب زمنك يعني.
أيوه لا يعني ما في مشكلة، نديكم كم هو الآن يعني مرة تقريبا ساعة ونص. هم عندنا 3 ساعات صح؟ فناخذوا 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minute recess.
Is this what you want? كذا شو متأكد يعني you want a break صح؟ بريك خلاص ناخذ 10 minutes not more عشان نخلص. 10 minutes.
Okay, then 10 minutes break.
Yes. Okay. Are we start? Not yet. A few minutes. Welcome back. ربنا يتقبل إن شاء الله.
Welcome back, برافو عليك. بس الكاميرا is off.
الكاميرا off. طيب. طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome back. ربنا يتقبل. يعني before delving to the last session of our discussion, let us make a quick summary of what have already been discussed. We started by defining problem-based learning, what is problem-based learning and what is not problem-based learning. And for problem-based learning, it's an approach in small groups to as an approach for learning, and it satisfies the adult learning principles, and it helps achieving the objectives of the curriculum. And we mentioned that it's different from problem solving, and some curricula use only problem-based learning, and in most it is used as one of the approaches. We talked about why, because it's having a small group approaches in general. There is a benefit of group work in that there are skills which are learned with in small groups, like communication skills, the professional skills, the active learning, participation, the leadership skills. We discussed your role as a tutor or teacher, which here should change to a facilitator, and we explained that the facilitator just encourages, not tells, but encourages students to talk and not and refrain from talking a lot. Encourages students to talk and to engage in the debate and questioning environment, and to the role of the facilitator is to make the environment friendly and conducive to participation, and refrain from the hostile behaviors and attitudes, and not teaching, not giving many lectures, not to refrain from being involved too much or explaining everything, and just encouraging the learners to find the to explain from what they learn, from what they know, and defend themselves, defend their opinions, and to help them finally to go and self-study, to become self-learners and lifelong learners. Any comments or questions or opinions on the first part before going into the how, the steps of performing the PPL or the sessions of the of PPL, of the steps. Any comments or questions or participation? Right. So the how to do it, how it is being done. The PPL has a number of steps, and a lot of schools and a lot of the authorities agree on 7 steps. And it is tutor facilitated. The tutor is by one of the students, as we mentioned in allocating the roles. One of the roles is a leader to the group, and the role of a leader is to distribute the chances, for the participants to talk, to make sure everybody participates, no one dominates, and to assure that the ground rules are followed. And the assessment is done in various ways, as we are including the we're going to go into some details later at the end. But the assessment includes assessment during learning sessions. How is that going to be done? In session quiz during the sessions, and at the end, the reports at the end of the session, and also some exam questions. This is the assessment for PPL. Next. Although there are steps or jumps, they are called jumps, 7 steps or 7 jumps. It's a circle. It's not hierarchical. It's not one after the other. They mix, and sometimes you go back. So it's more of a circle. But next slide. When we say steps one after the other, a lot of people adopt these 7 steps or 7 jumps. We're going to go into them in details, each one. Next. So steps. The first step is identifying the problem, exploring pre-existing knowledge, generate hypotheses and possible mechanisms, identifying learning issues, then the self-study, re-evaluation and application of new knowledge to the problem, and assessment and reflection of learning at the end. So we are going to go through these 7 steps. Next, because these 7 steps are done in 2 sessions, but can be more. It can be 3 sessions. In some school adopt 3 sessions, and in some cases or some facilitators or facilitators, you can do at least 2 sessions, but can be 3 in some cases. Next, in the first brainstorming session, next there'll be identification of the problem. 7 parts of jumps. We'll call 7 jumps. This usually carried out 2 to 3 sessions. How is it done? How these 3 steps in actual life are done? It starts by the first session is a brainstorming session where the problem is identified. Next slide. Usually, or some people start by distributing the problem to the students just before the start of the first session, and ask the students to read it silently for, say, 3 minutes, and so that they come up with the idea about the problem of the problems in the case. This is the first part. Then the brainstorming starts by the facilitator explains the whole process to the students, and after explaining the process to the students and the roles, responsibilities, and agree on the ground rules, as we mentioned before, they start the session by reading, as I mentioned, the case silently for a few minutes. Next. Right. The first 4 rounds are done during the first brainstorming session. The facilitator tries not to intervene, as we mentioned, only maintains the smooth flow of the process, being only facilitator, not a teacher. And you have always to keep this in mind. Next. As we mentioned, the role of the tutor or facilitator. This is before starting the first session, to ask open-ended questions, or being a facilitator and providing summarizing. But do you think it's better that the facilitator summarizes the points or asking the students to summarize? I think it's better to ask the students to summarize. And so far, we have been discussing, after all this discussion, what is the summary so far? What have we arrived at so far? What have we learned so far? So summary at each step. Next. Monitoring students. This is all the roles of the facilitator. Next. The first step or first jump is identify the problem. The students read through the problem and then discuss it. So in some schools and some tutors, they do it another way. They ask one of the students to read the problem loudly, and some people prefer that all of them read it silently, and then start the discussion after that. They may be tempted to diagnose the problem right away and need to be encouraged to think more deeply about all the ways, the hows, and when. That is the. I think if we explain it, if the facilitator knows well, is trained on on problem learning and on his or her role, and reflects that to the students, and telling them that this is not problem solving, this is problem-based learning. We want them to learn from the case or the problem, not solving the problem. Then we will not go into this problem of diagnosing the problem. Next. So the first step is identifying the problem itself, and in identifying the problem, after reading the problem, there may be some concepts or terminologies which are not clear to all of the students, and that need to be explained or clarified. But explained and clarified by who? And it's better to ask the the members of the group, the participants, to try to explain if someone or you ask about this certain terminology or concept, and ask the students to try to explain it from their previous knowledge, better than trying to explain everything to the students, which becomes passive or didactic teaching. Students come with an existing knowledge base and many life experiences, and this is the actually a characteristic of the adult learning principles, one of the adult learning principles. And it is surprising that in many cases and in many situations, we think that this is new, completely new to students, and they don't know anything about it. We will be surprised to find out that they know. At least some of them know about this situation, or this case, or this problem, or this idea, because it's not only knowing it right; it is knowing about it, knowing some part of the situation, or some part of the explanation, not the full picture. But more than that, you will be faced with students or learners know the knowledge, they have a knowledge, but it is not the right knowledge. It is not no. It's very helpful, and that leads to learning which lasts. People retain newly acquired knowledge more easily when they already know something about it, and they do. This second step allows students to consciously access their own prior understanding and begin to apply it for their own benefit and that of others in the group. So in this second step, after discussing the case and finding out what they know, before finding out what they don't know. This is the existing knowledge. The third step is to generate hypotheses and possible explanations. Next, generating hypotheses and possible mechanisms based on discussion, which has gone before. But any possible mechanism or hypothesis should be defended. If someone thinks it is the explanation is so and so, or this is because of so and so, the first response from the facilitator should be, why do you think so? Why this is right? Why do you think this is the case? Why not the other way around? Why this is challenging questions will help the students build the skill of having critical thinking and digging deep and defending themselves and go more with important for the truth of jumping to diagnosis and social assessment. Not the idea, and always remind ourselves as facilitators and the students, this is not the aim, is to come up with a diagnosis or solution for the problem. it is we want to learn. This is a tool for learning or an approach for learning. Next step, while doing this, we identify, or the students went together, we all together, the learners and the facilitator identify learning issues. That is, when they are discussing the situation, the cause, or the next step, or whatever, and they are stuck. Oh, this is a learning issue. We go and put it down. We ask, and here's the role of the scribe: write down, start writing down. Oh, this is a learning issue. Identify learning issue, because these identified learning issues are after the first session, brainstorming session, comes the fifth step, which depends on this identifying learning issues, that learners go for self-study. Next slide. They go for self-study. That's the 4 steps constitute the usually are done during the first brainstorming session. The people go for or the learners after the first session go for a self-study and guided by the identified learning issues, and they are given resources or guided about resources to come and search. Here, I think this is a very important step, which is, if not tackled properly, will affect the quality of learning, which is expected from problem-based learning. Because the challenges, a lot of challenges here, that not all of the students go and do their study and they learn. And even those who go and study, some of them, they look out something and they write it down and come to read it during the next session, which is not, this is not what is intended. They have to go the search, they have to go to study, and they have to come and discuss after studying and learning. They shouldn't just look and find out answers or solutions and write them down to come and read them in the next session. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge because if at this point, if it's done properly, will facilitate the learning so much. If it's not done properly, it may affect the outcome very much. So what are the suggestions? What do you think? What are your suggestions for this step to make it more effective? Any ideas? Hello? Any ideas? دكتور هشام موجود؟ دكتور دعاء وين
بروف معك معلش بس ما سمعت.
we either يعني bored or slept or we are hungry or we are something.
لا, it's okay.
How do we make this step or more effective? How do we make it right, the step of self-study? What strategies are you going to use? To make your to help or to encourage your students study properly. Some people suggest a session out of the proper sessions, maybe group gathering or virtual meeting or so, to make sure that people studied and learned about the learning issues which were identified. I just want to stress this point, that this step is important and may be challenging. Next. Then when they come back for the second session, they use the information they learn to revisit the case, the problem, and their knowledge, they apply it. And because they already in the first brainstorming sessions identified their gaps, and when they went and studied, they will come and they discuss the problems which were difficult to them, we couldn't explain, and they now they can apply their knowledge from in the case. So and this is doing it this way is good for recalling the information in the future, better than knowing doing it the way of the problem solving by learning or listening to the knowledge, gaining the knowledge, and then go and solve. Face the problems, identify the learning issues, go and self-study, and then come back and apply the new knowledge to the problem. This is because applying what you know, what you have studied and discussed, apply it in this situation. And the final step is the assessment and reflection on learning. Next slide. The students and the group should reflect on the process of learning that has taken place. They should clearly reflect, each and every one of them, on what they have learned, what they already knew, what they already knew, what they have learned, what change happened to them, and of course, what they really need, if they can discover also what they need to know to progress on their understanding and their learning, that will be more effective. In this stage, of course, there's a reflection. If everybody, as individuals and as groups, should reflect, and we should get feedback from the students on our performance as facilitators, what they think of what we have done right, what we should have done and we didn't do, and their opinion. And we should give them feedback on their performance and in the proper way. That is by giving them the strengths first, and then what we expect them to do better next time, and then summary. Help the facilitator can help them doing the summary or correcting them or improving on their performance on summary. So the reflection by individual learners and by the group, feedback from the learners about the performance of the facilitator, and feedback from the facilitator on the performance of the learners, and summary. Next. The assessment needs to focus on the objectives. Objectives, as we mentioned, there are objectives of the course learning objectives and the objectives of the sessions of the problem-based learning. That is as we mentioned, the communication skills and the interpersonal skills, and there is a tutor assessment of students, self-assessment by each student assess himself. That's part of the of reflection, and peer assessment from each other's. And the main tool is checklist, and there are lots of checklists which contains criteria on application of knowledge, that is deep learning, critical thinking, self-directed learning, and group work. Of course, the assessment, as you know, in all tutorials, learners are assessed by their, of course, their presence. If they're not present, they get 0. And those who are present are assessed by their the participation and contribution and the level of their contribution. Amount and the level and the skills, the application of the knowledge, the critical thinking, self-directed learning. They have learned, and in this step, in step 4, to application of knowledge, in step 5, self-learning, self-study. If they have done they have self-studied, they studied properly, and they came and discussed, and they applied that knowledge properly in the problem or not, because there will be differences between the learners, and that should be graded and for the assessment. So assessment of their behaviors and their knowledge application, and the skills of critical thinking and self-directed learning, and how they behaved in the group. These are all, there are checklists and there are gradings for all of that for the assessment of their performance in PBL. Next slide. The use, as we mentioned, that you give them feedback on their performance during the sessions to correct their or to improve on their performance and to correct any deviations. You don't wait till the end to give them feedback. So during, that's called this formative assessment, and to correct their or to improve on their performance, but give them a detailed feedback that is during and at the end, of course. And they are also assessed by a report. They write a report at the end of the of the sessions. And then they assessed by the facilitators on their knowledge and the skills, knowledge and critical thinking, and the group behavior, and their self-study, and their communication skills, and at the end, we want your feedback and contribution, and then we summarize. Any questions, any comments, any whatever your experiences, your debate. The floor is yours. Yes.
السلام عليكم بروفيسور.
عليكم السلام. عليكم السلام دكتور هشام.
يا رب يديك العافية إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيك. Probably I'll trigger some of the discussion. I have a question. There is a lot of discussion around how can we move from I don't want to use the term traditional or classic approach for education to PPL. So my question here is that for the universities, for health professions, education colleges, do you have any tips for those planning to adopt this approach, or in the first step of adopting this approach? So any tips for these universities? Thank you.
Well, of course, this is the core question, because how would you get the benefit of something if you don't adopt it? And how are you going to adopt if you are using the traditional methods and you are happy with these traditional methods? And as you know, people they like to be in their comfort zone. This is why a lot of people talk about change management and in education. The most important step is awareness, because a lot of people with good intention, they do it the traditional way, and I think this is working. Why should we change if it is working? If something is working, don't fix it. But because they don't know, let us don't use the word don't know, because they did not realize the benefit of this approach. So awareness is important, and awareness starts with the leadership. If you want to make a change, and when you want to be effective, start with leadership. Because if the leader or leaders believe in this concept, in this methodology or in this approach, they will arrange and support sessions for education, for training. People should be educated and trained. Both the teachers who will become facilitators and the students and the managers. Everybody should be educated about this, trained about this, to realize the benefits. How can we adopt something or change from something to something if we don't realize or believe in the benefits? But if people really appreciate the benefits, a lot of them will go, but of course resistance is human. Different reasons. One of the most important, as we mentioned, the comfort zone. They want to change to something they don't know. Maybe they will not be good at it, or other people know it more, so they will not be leading or not be in front. So leadership commitment, change management processes, education, training, and that is what the means. Part of the means I can now. Maybe you if someone else can contribute or have other suggestions.
Indeed, I would add my voice to yours when it comes to leadership engagement in making a difference for adopting new strategies. That's, of course, including the PBL. Actually, in that context, probably I'll comment a little bit. One of the things we are trying now, we're working in a project, and I'm happy that some of my colleagues are in this session. Actually, this project is that we're trying to see how we can use PBL actually in professional development context and workplace education. Because as you mentioned earlier in this session, it's all this strategy and this approach is actually supporting one of the important principles in education, which is student centeredness. So again, probably through you, I'll also invite the attendees to look in other dimensions of adoption for PBL in different contexts, not only in just health professional education in universities. Thank you very much. Very insightful comments from your end. Dr. Dua, is there any?
Yes, please. Yeah. Please.
We have Dr. Sami Bilal on stage. I guess he has questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Ali, for this is a very fruitful and very to the point presentation. Actually, I want to go back for your question. You stressed on that how you can encourage your students to do phase 2. In my experience, maybe 10 years ago, in International University of Africa, we adopted problem-based learning as one of our teaching approaches, more than curriculum-based, problem-based, and we use it a lot actually. And based on my experience, this phase, as you stress, it is the most important phase actually. That you want to be assured that your students sat down and discuss or did this phase very, very actively. So one of our solution at that time, we put it in the timetable of the students. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 should show up in the timetable, and I have to know where they are sitting, so I can come to them and see them doing this phase. And also in the phase 3, we assure that all of them participating in phase 2 by distribution of questions, or asking any student at phase 2, phase 3 session to participate in answer. This is our experience, how we can encourage or foster phase 2. Regarding another issue you raised maybe in the end of your presentation, when Dr. Hisham asked you, it is a comfortable zone. Now in my college, actually we faced this resistance from the faculty. Yani, it is very nice if I show you. We have a questionnaire, very small questionnaire. We asked our faculty, what do you think about adopting student-centered learning? The challenge will be from the students or from staff or from resources, or our staff, maybe 60% of them says that it's from the students. And when we ask the student direct question, do you will be happy to learn yourself if we give you a material and clear objectives? 60 or more than 60 of them said yes, we are. So I think yes, there is some human factor here, rather than resources, rather than sources, rather than environment. So I want your comment. Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Two points: the phase 2 or the self-study, and the adoption of PBL. Actually, it's a matter of attitude. I mean, attitude means thinking. I mean, by attitude here, I mean the paradigm, the thinking paradigm. What we as teachers think of our students. Most of us think of the students are they are not serious. They don't spend a lot of time learning. They are interested in other activities other than learning, in social media or in, and that attitude reflects in our practice. If we change our thinking or our attitude, that our students are eager to learn, they are able to learn by themselves. One of the important aspects I keep telling teachers or staff whenever I meet them is that these students are much more smart than we think. They are much more willing to learn. They are much more motivated than we think, and they can learn by themselves. They don't actually in most cases, in most of the aspects, YouTubes and now the AI, and they will find lecturers much better than us giving them this information. They need us for encouragement, for direction, for feedback, and for motivating them to learn and adjusting their learning and their behavior and things, not giving them information or feeding them with information. But we insist that we give them lectures and we tell them about everything, and if we don't tell them, they will not know. This is our thinking. So if we change our paradigms, our thinking as teachers, and become facilitators, here, this is a whole different ball game. Things will be different. About the second step or self-study, as you mentioned, this should be scheduled, to be in the schedule, time, allocated time for self-study. You give them time. They are not busy with anything apart from self-study. And in some schools or some educators think there will be, it's better to conduct a session before applying the knowledge, to make sure that self-study actually happened. So,
if you allow me, Prof, I have another question, maybe a small question. If you are in the last phase and you discover that your students not well covered the objectives, what will you do?
What I will do as a tutor, facilitator?
Yes, yes.
If you follow the steps correctly, you will not be faced with this in the last step, because the problem is when you are identifying the learning issues, you have in mind the learning outcomes or the objectives of the case and the course, and this should be covered. This should be covered at that stage, and should be identified as learning issues to satisfy or to the learning objectives. For the learning objectives to be for them to satisfy the learning objectives, should be identified as learning issues. Okay, if something like this happens, it should be rectified. For 2 steps, should be rectified by making another session or at any later date. But this is a defect or a problem. It's a problem in itself. Why did this happen? We should investigate why did this happen, why it happened, and how to prevent it from happening next time. Because you always have in mind and in front of you the learning objectives, and that's your aim, so that they should be satisfied. So preventive measures, that should not happen. And if it happens, you think about here in your question, you discovered that learning objectives is not covered for all the students, or some of them did not satisfy did not learn or achieve.
Yes, usually some of them. Usually, if it happens, some of them, yes, not all of them. Because I think this is also one of the problems or challenges of problem-based learning. Most of the students actually lean on one of their students, colleagues, actually, to do their jobs.
But this is the role here of the facilitator. If the facilitator is skillful, he should notice this during the first and second session, and first session and second session, and of course you will find one or more students not didn't do the self-study well. That is one of the main reasons. This is why this is I mentioned this step is very important, and of course that is natural. This is why there is assessment, there is reflection and assessment, and during this assessment, of course, some of the students or some of them may be absent themselves. And some of them may not satisfy, and their performance may be well to satisfy you or pass the exam, and they are considered as they need rectification. So either you do another session, or they join another group, or you make a they should study this problem again, either extension or another session, or join another group. Maybe some of them may need to join another group, another batch of students, because it goes into batches. But they have to pass the assessment, which has all the components we mentioned, the feedback and the quiz, the performance during the sessions, and the participation, and some people use proper exam at the end. Some, of course, this is not. Some of them may not achieve their objectives.
Thank you very much, Professor. Sorry, Dr. Hisham, can I ask a last question? Because I think problem-based learning is very important tool of or approach for teaching. So, Professor Ali, what do you think about the assessment? Do you think the problem-based learning should be just like a lecture, so the evaluation should occur at the end of the course, or the students should take marks? Because usually when we evaluate them or assess them and we want to give them marks, we give the marks for all the group, and we know that as we agreed upon it, naturally the effectiveness or participation of the students are not equal in problem-based learning. So what is your opinion regarding assessment?
Okay. If I understand your question well, what is right is well known, and what is being done in most cases, in most schools, and by most teachers is known. There is the right thing to do, and what is done, and we as human beings tend to move to do the easy things, not the right things. So it is easier to evaluate the group, but the right thing is to evaluate learners during tutorials or during the problem-based learning, and this is not easy. But by training and by practice for facilitators, it becomes second nature. There are rubrics for evaluation, the participation, as I said, have the volume and the depth of participation and the extent of participation, the knowledge they provide, and break down into knowledge and the critical skills, problem-solving skills, and the behaviors. There is a breakdown of this in a checklist, and there are scales for this. And if I will send you the documents, including this list. It should be done this way. If it is done this way, it will differentiate between the ones who really learn and those who need more time and more effort to learn. And then assess this way to make sure that learning has happened, or how learning occurred and objectives achieved. If it is done by a group in quotas, I mean the group are doing well, or 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. This is not the right way, and it is not going to help. People will be faced at the end that the outcomes of the program, of the curriculum, will not be achieved, and we end up with suboptimal learning. Does that answer your question? Yes. Are there any comments?
Thank you, Professor. So far, no further comments or questions in the Q&A box.
And no one knows. About the last question, I didn't get a feedback about my answer.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't see Dr. Sami on the stage.
There's not.
Yeah, probably have a connection issue or so.
So let us finish. I think it is time. About time.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Ali. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
This is very important and very critical, because this is where things go right and wrong. This assessment and evaluation, because people in education is, I mean, they have a saying, which people agree on, that assessment drives learning. So if you are not assessing them properly, they will not learn properly, because a lot of learners. No, I mean, this is not the. We shouldn't take it as a trend, but we have to keep in mind some of the learners. They come to school and they want to pass and get a certificate. If they can pass without much effort, they will not do the effort. This is why our assessment should ensure learning. And if we do it properly, because people have worked on that, and there are a lot of references, there are a lot of templates, there are a lot of checklists to make sure that learning happened and objectives are achieved. We just have to be convinced as staff and facilitators that this is the way it should be done. We know, we should know it, we should know how to do it, and we should do it, because otherwise the effort will not materialize in outcomes or performance. This is very important. I'm very happy and glad that we had this discussion, and because there are areas practically which can defeat our purpose if it's not done properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yes, because I mean, it's not the good intention is not enough. We have to do it, and to do it properly, and to come and revise and check the challenges and correct ourselves and improve on ourselves, as is mentioned in the previous workshop. We have to do not only quality OSCE, but quality education. And quality
Yes,
education.
And actually, many students come to the problem-based learning session as a free marks area or free marks, easy marks to gain marks. As you said, yes, it is depend on our behaviors as a facilitator or tutor.
Yes, yes, it's right. Because I mean, there is a law saying that quality education is a human right. This is not a privilege. It's not. It should be done by someone and not done by others. And hopefully, we know what is right, and we know it well, and we do it, and we assess it, and we improve on it, and keep the Professor Sahal says, keep an open mind. Listen to others, how others do it right, and keep ourselves educated and up to date. Thank you very much for
Professor. Professor Ali, sorry for the inconvenience, and thanks for the whole session. It was very informative. Sorry, I want to ask about personally, what do you prefer? The creation of a fictional problems that follow the proposed learning objectives, or the reuse of the personal, realistic, authentic cases, even from peers, to recreate the problem-based sessions?
It is not. It's not a preference. It is not a preference. If we look at your question about the authentic cases, the present cases, problems, and creating our own problems, is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes. So both. If I look at problems already made by people and tested, and I look at them, it's either using them, adjusting them and tailoring them to my need, or learning from them, or taking ideas from these problems. Actually, going through problems is of benefit, as if you use them after, of course, tailoring them to your context, or learning from them. It is useful, even if you want to make your own, take a history from that patient and do, say, physical examination, and come and then we put our objectives for is it of course we're not interested only in the skills. There are knowledge objectives, and or strategies that we want the decision making, or what's the next step, we can use real patients instead of writing a problem, or in tutorial, or writing. So it is not preferring. If I find a problem which satisfies the or covers the objectives, and it's written in a good way, I will either modify it and use it, or learn from it. And of course, I think it's easier than formulating your own problem. If this, if it's being done. It's not more. It's not. I personally think it's not better. You are not. The effort you are doing in sitting and formulating a problem, which may turn out to be of lower quality than the one done. The fact that you did it yourself does not mean it is better. This is my opinion. Maybe.
Very informative. Thanks a lot.
So if there are no questions, and we are, I think about in time, just 2-3 words. Problem-based learning is a modality known for so many years. It had it developed between, I think, 1983 to 1985 in where Maastricht and McMaster and universities, and it's being now worldwide. It has all the benefits of achieving your objectives, the driving learning, and has other objectives, achieving other objectives of a group or teamwork or group learning, collaborative learning, and the skills. A lot of 21st century skills are learned through tutorials or small groups, and the PBL is one of the approaches in these small groups. And I encourage you, my advice is that you take this message to your colleagues, to the students, to the faculties, and a lot of people, if they are convinced of the benefits and convinced that it is not more burden, and there is there's benefit for them. Of course, if we all agree that educationalists consider their benefit by the better education or better performance or better outcomes of students. If they convinced, most of them will think about changing. And the leadership role, if you find yourself in a leadership role, take this responsibility to make or to lead the change, and be persistent and be patient. And the aim is a quality education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Ali. Very informative and insightful presentation. We already learned a lot. Talking about PBL, the what and the how is extremely important. And yes, probably you've noticed from the discussions and sharing experiences from the audience that it triggers a lot of pain points in this particular approach. So again, I would like to extend my greatest appreciation for you, Professor Ali, for giving us the time to learn from you in this very important approach. I would like also to extend our gratitude to the participant whom enlightened this session by their insightful questions, discussions. Probably I would like to close by a request from Dr. Aisha. She said that if you please, Professor Ali, she asked if possible to share the handout or the presentation to help them mastering PBL, if it's okay.
Of course, yeah, sure. The lots of a lot of references and documents and cases. And of course, I'm glad that you asked for that, because it helps. The books, and so we're going to supply them. Okay, later we can arrange this. We can arrange this.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Professor Ali. We will add it, inshallah, to the resources of the conference. Please feel free to review and check every time, and then the resources in each session, and we'll make sure that we will have the full materials, the full support in this particular topic from Professor Ali, inshallah ta'ala. At the end, I would like again to thank you once again, Professor Ali, for your time and your insights in this topic. And I would like also to take the opportunity to thank my colleagues in the organizing committee as well for facilitating and supporting this session. Also, I'd like to remind you, tomorrow is the day, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be live in 2:30 Khartoum local time. We already have, we're already now reaching around 900 registered to join the conference tomorrow. So again, see you tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. ونختم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. أفضل الشكر والتمنيات لحضرتك دكتور علي والضيوف. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. السلام.